Alright, in this video I'm going to go through the connection between Tavistock and GCHQ and one of the most recent trolling operations, which is the Hoaxtead blog. Now what you're looking at here is a blog post on my blog that I have not yet published because I'm waiting to get a whole bunch of other information together, and then I want to publish it all at once. But for now I wanted to just make this video for the evidence library. Now if you looked at our presentation on GCHQ and the JTrig slides, what you'll notice in those slides is that most of the slides are all psychology slides, because most of the background behind the GCHQ program is psychology, psychiatry, that particular field of study. So that's very important to understand when you look at these links that I found here. So what I'm going to do is just read some of this article out loud to you. It's a rather lengthy article because it goes into lots of different backgrounds. So for the video section, I think I'll split it up into a few sections here. So this is Hoaxtead, Tavistock, and Karen Irving background research on a government trolling operation. This all started about 2.5 years ago when I noticed an army of trolls showing up on my YouTube channels with sock puppet account names like Google Hoaxtead and Hampstead Hoax and Mackenzie's Devils. These same YouTube channels were also creating 3 to 7 extremely offensive videos per day about me and our family's project. Most notable, the videos made about me and sent to me by these accounts had pictures of dead children on them as thumbnails. Here's an example of one of these videos that I took a screenshot of before the channel was deleted by YouTube. I won't click on it. You can see the in the archive. I show the picture in another video. At first, the deluge of smut I was receiving from Hoaxtead was quite traumatizing to me, and I quickly deleted it and did not think to keep records of everything that was sent to me. After all, what normal person would want to keep a memory of that? Getting these messages used to make me physically ill, which is something I had to work on over time in order to be able to overcome the trauma of the abuse enough to compose myself so that I could start collecting evidence. And that's true. In the beginning, it's very shocking, and this is one of their tactics. Their tactics is to do a shock and awe. They want to make sure that you're caught off guard. They want to make sure that you're triggered and that you get very emotional. And the people that do this trolling, they call it doing it for the lulz. And I might actually make a separate video on that, explaining what that means, because this is actually psychopathic, where they receive pleasure off of traumatizing other people. So here's my summary of research down this particular rabbit hole known as Hoaxtead, its connections to Tavistock, and a bit of background on its current ringleader, Karen Irving. So first let's talk about Tavistock. The Tavistock Institute of Human Behavior defines itself as a charity concerned with a group behavior and organizational behavior. However, it was later revealed that Tavistock is the world's center for brainwashing, war propaganda, and social engineering. This was uncovered in depth by Dr. John Coleman's book, The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, Shaping Moral, Spiritual, Cultural, Political, and Economic Decline of the United States of America. Here's a copy of that book. Definitely pick up a copy of it. It's phenomenal. And by the way, he is the original source of this information. It's been put out there by David Icke, but in another interview, John Coleman very clearly states that David Icke was the biggest plagiarist that he ever met, and that David Icke stole all of his work from this book and other people's books as well. So when you listen to the interviews, that was on Veritas Radio, I believe. It was a great interview. He talks about that. But here's who he is. Dr. John Coleman, who wrote this book, he has a background in British government service that allowed him access to records in the British Museum of Natural History that was closed to the public. He spent 5 years researching original documentation there, where he put together this book. What was uncovered was absolutely shocking. His book describes the psychological operations that are being carried out on the public. The reach of Tavistock is extremely large, way beyond the scope of this article. It was started in 1921 by its founder Rawlings Rees as a research center for British Special Intelligence. Tavistock would later work as the command center for many government agencies such as GCHQ, the CIA, NSA, and even universities like MIT. It was Rees who evolved Tavistock's methods of brainwashing. The following is an excerpt from Dr. Coleman's book from the chapter, How Tavistock Makes Well People Sick. What was it that made the Rees method of brainwashing so successful? Basically, it was this. The same psychotherapy techniques used to cure a mentally sick individual could be applied in the opposite direction. It could also be used to make healthy people become mentally ill. Experiments on human beings began in the 1930s on British Army recruits and continues today on the public at large. These experiments include the MKUltra program and the New Age movement, just to name a few. Today, Tavistock employs an army of psychotherapists to manipulate the public via social media engineering. This can be seen in many of the different psyop narratives, cults, and social movements, and fake news or hoax stories that are prevalent in today's digital society. So now let me walk you through Tavistock and Hampstead so that you can understand. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up as part of the presentation is that most of the trolling operations that were done on my family, they switched over to this thing we call the Hoaxtead operation. A lot of it, they kind of took over the trolling. And Hoaxtead is it's based out of Hampstead. So what I'm doing here is I'm connecting, once again, Hoaxtead to GCHQ, Hampstead, and Tavistock, so you can see how it all strings together for an operation like this. So while Tavistock has a wide reach today all over the world, its center is in the UK. When you look at the history of the Tavistock timeline, you will see that the Tavistock Clinic was located in Hampstead, England, until it moved to its current location in central London in 1994, which wasn't really that long ago. So there's a huge influence right there. I will go ahead and open up the history of the Tavistock timeline, which is linked in this article. There's many links in this article. So here's the Tavistock, and then I'll just do Control F, and we will find Hampstead right there. Okay, 1939. It says that it was located in Hampstead. Okay, so it was there for a long time. While Tavistock has a wide reach today all over the world, its center is in the UK. According to Tavistock's own research in the UK, 1 in 4 people have a mental health disorder. The main treatment for mental disorders is a combination of talk therapy, which I call going to a shrink, and psychiatric drugs. The UK is handing out record-breaking amounts of psychiatric drugs to its population, and there's a link to an article there that talks about that. That's one crazy drugged-up society with a whole lot of Tavistock psychotherapists to keep the mind games going. When you look at the history of the Tavistock timeline, again, that's the timeline I linked to, you will see that the Tavistock Clinic was located in Hampstead, England, until it moved to its current location in central London in 1994. One of the hospitals in Hampstead near the clinic was a place where disgraced pedophile Jimmy Savile molested sick kids in the children's ward. That links to an article I'll show you in a second so you can see the background behind that. Furthermore, Tavistock runs a clinic to treat abused children in Hampstead, just meters away from its clinic to treat pedophiles. I'll link to an article there so you can see where I get that from. And there are reports of a teacher at the Hampstead school getting away with molesting a 9-year-old child because 21 of the parents wrote letters in support of the teacher. I'll get to those in a second, okay? I'm not claiming that I have any kind of knowledge or inside knowledge of any of these cases. All I know is that this group from Hampstead have been brutally trolling, stalking, and harassing me and my family for the last few years, and I'm sick of it. Hoaxtead has written a dozen defamation articles about me and my family. They've posted harassing comments and photoshopped pictures of me in their comment sections on a daily basis for 2.5 years. And they have created hundreds of slanderous videos about me and my family, many of which have been taken down due to my constant complaints to YouTube. And then they play the worst kind of hypocritical psychological mind games of projection and gaslighting. They pretend to be the innocent victims of the very acts that they are committing on others, such as me and my family. Did I also mention that they are a bunch of self-professing Satanists that post pictures of occult rituals and send me satanic death threats? That will have to be for another post, and there's a lot of info on there as well. I do have another video out that shows a lot of that on this channel. So when I do just a small amount of digging to find out where all this smut is coming from, these are the kinds of news headlines I find associated with that group. So these are the links up here. These are the headlines. So here's an article. This is the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead to be investigated over links with Jimmy Savile. So put that into a Google search and go look up and read what this article says about what's going on over there. Okay, these are the links. Here's another article. Children's unit to be moved to new location just meters away from the pedophile therapy center. So they're basically putting the kids that have been abused in the same building or meters away from the pedophiles that abused them. And that's what they do in Hampstead. It's pretty sick. Okay, so Ham and Hyde, this is interesting. Hampstead teacher walks free after sexually abusing a 9-year-old girl. So go ahead, type that into a Google search and look up that article and see what happened there. So there's a lot of stuff going on over there, right? A lot of things, and a lot of people think it's crimes and it's trying to be covered up. You know, that's going on all over the world. But anyway, let's read on. All the attention around the town of Hampstead made quite a frenzy on New Age conspiracy forums run by David Icke. This is where the narrative about Hampstead and allegations of child abuse originated from that later became the Hoaxtead blog, which is a central hub of Tavistock intended for controlling the online narrative and drawing in the public. One of the earliest contributors to these David Icke forums discussions was a woman who used the screen name Susan0207. This user is named Susan Banga. She works for Tavistock and was listed in their registry of psychotherapists. She is also one of the first people to promote the Hoaxtead research blog and push the Tavistock narrative around Hampstead. Here is a copy of the registration for the UK Council for Psychotherapy, and it lists Susan Banga working for Tavistock. Okay? Here's another picture of Susan's now defunct profile showing her background in psychology and women's literature. She's deleted these, but someone screen captured them before she did. Okay, so we show that somebody who's promoting the Hoaxtead blog research, the same blog that is trolling me and many other people, right? She was one of the first people to promote this blog and say, you know, you should read this blog. So she's registered as working for Tavistock right there. So there's that connection. Upon further search of Susan's handle, Susan0207, we find links that show that she's willing to do anything to make money, that she's chosen online coding and various vague SEO and writing skills on a freelance job search forum with the elusive name No Hat Digital. Now this is where it gets interesting, because we talked in our presentation that Tavon and I did about how many psychotherapists are working in IT. So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. No Hat Digital, there are all these different jobs and positions for people that are doing all different kinds of computer work, computer marketing, trying to use keywords, this is the field of work where if you're a business and you're trying to market your business, this is where you would have to learn some skills on how to promote your business. However, this is also the same area where a lot of these deviant types work in order to discredit a target. You want to discredit them publicly online. This is what you need to know. You need to have these skills. So this is what Susan does in her spare time. And here's her on No Hat Digital. Instead of white hat or black hat, No Hat Digital. She's a vegetarian. She says, make money online somehow. Learning computing online in vain, I hope. I'll pause this for a second and let you read. Here's another thing with her saying that she's introducing herself. Okay, pause that if you need to go back and read it. Here she is again. Right, so she's good with computers, and so she was one of the people that was behind the beginning stages of the Hoaxtead blog, at least. Apparently the ability to write fictional stories and conduct online marketing, coding, and SEO are the latest common traits for psychotherapists employed by Tavistock. Of course it would be, right? What on earth does this have to do with being a therapist? Well, nothing. But it does have everything to do with being a good brainwasher, online slanderer, and social media manipulator. So there's a document in here. I'll go ahead and click on it. These are all the links I found about Susan Banga. Links, pictures, right? Showing her profile. Here she is at the Christ Church School in Hampstead. And then on that same video, it's like, look who shows up in the comments. This is Michael of the Mouse Family. This is one of their main trollers that has, targeted me. Right? So these people are definitely there, and they're very active there. And this is all of her activity on the David Icke forum. So I found a lot of that as well. In the very, very beginning of all of this, where she was posting on the David Icke forums. And she was talking to Shiva Burton, who's another one of the big trolls. I have another blog post, an article about her, and some videos that I'm making as well to show you that background. These are all her different social media accounts: Pinterest, Flickr, Fiverr. Right? She's on Fiverr. So remember from our presentation I talked about how you can hire a troll on Fiverr. Well, she's there. No Hat Digital Forum. Her Reddit account. David Icke Forum. Now this is interesting. I might have to blow this up. Here we go. On the David Icke Forum, it says, Susan, you have an awful lot of time on your hands to put this together. Interesting, I just read this on a blog posted. Her handle is this, Susan0207. She's connected to Tavistock also. She is friends with all of the YouTube trolls, and they're listed: UK Callum, Snake Logan. She follows Ella on her Google Plus page. So these people, these two trolls, UK Callum and Snake Logan, these are people that are responsible for writing the Hoaxtead blog. Some people say that UK Callum is Ricky Dearman. Some people say, and we know for sure now that Snake Logan is Karen Irving. Okay, so they're all connected there. Now here's where I do a bit of an overview. I've done this in other videos, so I won't read through it now, but I basically describe who Hoaxtead is. They're the operation. Here's a little chart I made to kind of give you an idea of how their accounts are all laid out. Okay. Okay, here we go. Hoaxtead was started by and is run by psychotherapists that work for Tavistock. The blog claims that it started to refute scurrilous accusations of child abuse in Hampstead. However, the main content of the blog is gossip, conjecture, and macabre subjects such as pedophilia and satanic ritual abuse. What the blog truly hosts is a psychological doublespeak, and in the infamous brainwashing techniques of Tavistock's founder Reese, it's intended to make a mentally well person mentally ill. For the last 2.5 years, I, along with my family and our business, have been one of Hoaxtead's 86+ targets. Hoaxtead is responsible for sending us harassing messages and death threats. We've had hundreds of offensive videos made about us on YouTube. We've been monitoring and stalked on a daily basis, as found in our stalking file. Okay. I made another video talking about the Hoaxtead experience. And just in case, here's some screenshots. These are all of the defamation articles that have been written about me, my family, and our project by Karen Irving on the Hoaxtead blog. So it's about a dozen of them, right? They're all about me. All these articles here. And in the articles, each one, every day, in these articles and other articles, there are just daily for at least 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, daily, this blog had comments about me all throughout the day, all day long. They were commenting about me. Now, there's some people that say that all the commenters on the blog are like 2 people. It's like 2 women, Karen and like one other lady, and they run like all those different commenter blogs. And you know what, that's possible because if you look at their writing style, a lot of them say the same thing. So it's literally one person sitting there having a conversation with themselves and several different sock puppet accounts. And you know what, if you do that for a living, you're going to end up with multiple personality disorder later on in life, because how can you keep that up? But they've been doing it for years. This is the psychological stuff that they do. These are some of the hundreds of harassment and defamation videos that have been made about me by Hoaxtead. So I have a big collection showing all the screenshots. These are all the videos they made about me and our project. Here's a screenshot of the Hoaxtead stalking files. I show you some of the content that they publish in my stalking folder. Okay, they monitor when we raise money, they monitor my relationship. This one, the monitoring about the money, being all about money this, and you know, the stuff that they say about the money we've raised or money that other people have raised, and also their activities of trying to shut down people's campaigns of raising money or try to cut people off. This is a communism thing, and we're going to do a separate video that shows the communism roots behind all of this trolling, because they are communist in their nature and they're very anti-small business, and their goal is slavery of the people, because you can't dare make your own money, right? Because you know, well, they all get paychecks from GCHQ, and a lot of them are on welfare benefits, and that's how they get paid. Here's some more of the content that they publish in their stalking folder about us, about our project, right? So they focus on the money we raise and the technology and our relationship. This is okay. So they publish this in the stalking folders as well. I did a separate video on this, so I'm just going to kind of skim through it. Yeah, see, here's the videos that I made showing that. Right, so now we're going to switch into a different section of the video where we're talking about the main author of the Hoaxtead blog, and I want to show you the connection once again to the psychiatry, the Tavistock mentality. So this is later on through the blog post here. This is Karen Irving, which is also known as El Coyote Hoaxtead. She is the main author of the blog at this point in time, and has been for at least the last few years, last 4 years or so. Karen Irving is a Canadian psychotherapist who currently lives near Hampstead Heath, England. She began her career working with sexually abused children from an Indian residential school in Ontario, Canada. These residential schools were known for horrible child abuse and genocide. In some accounts, there are as many as 50,000 missing Indian children that have been forcibly sent to these residential schools, where they have uncovered 31 mass grave sites. And I give links to articles that you can go and read that talk about those stories. Below is a screenshot from Karen Irving's blog after the kids leave, and now taken offline and only available through the Wayback Machine, showing her involvement in mass sexual child abuse in Canada. So here's the screenshot. You can see she's writing to her sister Wendy, Karen Irving, 19 comments. Right, and so she writes, "Well, this has been a week, hasn't it? Who would have guessed when we started this blog that we find ourselves targeted by various conspiracy theory discussion boards. On their boards and in our comment section, they've accused us of all sorts of naughtiness, up to and including covering up satanic child sexual abuse and murder. You know what I find most offensive about this is the fact that I spent many years as a psychotherapist working in large part with survivors of child sexual abuse. In fact, when I was a student intern, my very first client was a man who survived sexual and psychic abuse at one of Ontario's famous Indian residential schools. I remember being horrified at the story he related, and I was terrified too, terrified that I wouldn't be able to help him overcome the trauma, that I'd somehow say or do the wrong thing and cause more pain than he'd already suffered. I wish you would still feel that way if you meant it, Karen, because a lot of the things that you've written about me and my family have caused a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, and it's your actions that have done that." So there's a huge story about what happened in Canada in these residential schools. Yeah, here's the article. Look it up. The Guardian Canada confronts its dark history of abuse in residential schools, and I've seen documentaries about this as well, and it's some really, really horrible, nasty stuff that has happened there, and that's what she was involved in the beginning when she was living in Canada. So after her work as a psychotherapist, she became a crime writer. Interesting choice. A genre of novel writing that involves fictional or factual accounts of criminal doings and crime-themed literary works. One of her books received an award from the Crime Writers of Canada. From here, she moved on to write a blog with her sister, Wendy, where she published creepy artwork photos from Hampstead. She got a lot of unwanted attention by publishing the macabre photos, and not only did she have to scrub the post from the internet, but also she scrubbed it from the Wayback Machine. At least I couldn't find it when I looked for it. But luckily, a copy of the post and the photos was reblogged here. I put a link to that, and below are the photos in question. So this is what Karen Irving is posting on her blog. So she found these photos in Hampstead. This is an art display in Hampstead. So one is depicting a skeleton on a mattress with a severed and shackled foot and cigarette burns with the word compulsion. Another photo that looks like screaming fetuses hanging from the ceiling. And another with skeleton children's dolls hung by the neck to show a hangman's silhouette on the wall, and what looks like women's legs in a birthing position coming out of the fireplace. Judge for yourself what you think of Karen's taste in artwork. One would think that given her career as a therapist of sexually abused and genocided children, she might be a little more sensitive to what she chooses to share online. There's one video online where we can view the many mannerisms of Karen Irving herself. In this video, below Karen and her sister are being interviewed by Coffee with Chloe. This is an old video. You can look it up on YouTube, Coffee with Chloe, Karen, and Wendy Irving. So I watched the video in depth, carefully, and I decided to do my own psychoanalysis on the psychotherapist. Karen, here's what I noticed. She uses sarcasm and jokes throughout the entire video. Indeed, Karen's communication style is sarcasm overkill, almost as if she isn't able to have a straightforward, serious conversation. In psychology terms, this is known as grain of truth in every joke. So it's a method that she uses. Freud says jokes were ways we express our conscious or unconscious thoughts. So with that in mind, is that jokes are the way that you express your conscious or unconscious thoughts. Here's what Karen likes to joke about, and I put timestamps so you can go look this up and hear her say it herself. At 5:30, she jokes about how can I humiliate my children and get revenge on my children. In 1959, she says she mocks about tormenting kids, drinking, taking meds, being drugged, mixing Xanax and vodka, and dropping acid. At minute 32:39, she says we advise alcoholism is pretty much the solution to everything, and drug addiction, or any form of addiction in fact, is probably a good idea because your life is screwed. Just as my little sentiment, I said, can we say MK Ultra? Because if you know anything about the MK Ultra program and the amount of drugs that they used, this is very much along those same lines. So also noted, at minute 28:40, we learned that Karen is an editor and manages a lot of writers in her day job, which is exactly like what she does now for Hoaxtead. At minute 30:48, we started out writing our advice column as a LARP. This is what she says. LARP is now a well-known term for dark web internet activities of social manipulation. Recently came more into light during the QAnon phenomenon. At minute 4:07, she says we got addicted to statistics, and so she knows how to influence others online. And then at the end, we get the creme de la creme. Karen Irving is a communist. At minute 36:22, she visits the grave of Karl Marx on the anniversary of his death in the Highgate Cemetery, which is known as a hot spot for Satanists. It's also in Hampstead, by the way. At minute 39:05, they mock the crucifixion and then state we hate all communists and Christians, and joke about visiting the grave of Mao Zedong. This would certainly explain why Karen and her minions all seem to have an obsession with commenting on how much money someone is making or charging for products and services. Almost every blog post on their blog is filled with anti-capitalist, anti-small business rhetoric. Communists hate economic freedom and small business entrepreneurs. This philosophy is deeply embedded into the Tavistock ethos, which was built by socialists, communists, and Marxists. So just research Tavistock a little bit and you will find it was created by communists. So that's the mentality behind this army of psychotherapists. Here's a couple of screenshots. I can't make them any bigger right now. I wish I could, but basically I'll read them out loud. This is Karen Irving under her El Coyote, and she's talking about me, and it's all about the money. She's constantly focusing on how much money I've made or anything about money, because she hates people who do business for themselves. So it's, obvious. If Hoax Girl's QHG machine is not a scam, then why does she go to such great ends to suppress anyone who disagrees with her? Answer: she's making money from it. I mean, I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm not. That's not true. I really don't care about that stuff. However, the main reason why I go to such ends is because I fight back. I don't just let people walk all over me. If you're going to start smearing my business and my project and my family, you're going to get a fight from me. It's like if somebody comes into your house and defecates in the middle of your living room floor, you're gonna clean it up and you're gonna get a fight. So that's how I roll. I can't help. I'm from Brooklyn. What can I say? That's where it comes from, right? Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but anyway, I go on. Here's another one. Hope Girl is still trying to censor critics of the QEG. Non-scammers don't misuse YouTube's reporting rules to silence their critics. So what's the deal with Hoax Girl? Hint: money, 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 right? So anyway, I go on. Please don't take my word for it. Karen Irving has lots of victims, and you can read about the experiences that other people have had with her in articles such as this one here. I just found this article. I think they took it offline. But anyway, I took a screenshot of it talking about this person's experience with being trolled by Hoaxtead and Karen. Okay, then there's this. In this article, the author quotes about Karen: "You have nearly drove people to suicide. You are evil." And then I say, as a matter of fact, this is not the first time I've heard this. Ever since I posted one blog post about Hoaxtead, I started receiving a lot of messages from other victims. They were requesting that I help them start a Hoaxtead victim support group. Another one of the most alarming messages that I have received is stating that Karen Irving and the Hoaxtead blog were successful in harassing someone to the point of committing suicide. Here's a copy of the comment I received. You can go ahead and pause that. I did a whole other video on this one showing this. Okay, so here's my conclusion here. So this is the person behind all the torment my family and 86 other people have undergone over the last few years since she started leading the Hoaxtead operation. Karen Irving, Tavistock psychotherapist, who started with sending me pictures of dead children with my name on it through her Hoaxtead operation, and would later reveal to be a dark individual with an overexposure to child abuse, torture, and preference for crime writing and sick artwork. Some psychotherapist you are, Karen Irving. I wouldn't let any children near your therapy in a million years. Karen Irving seems to have a habit of showing up in cases of child abuse for the sole purpose of denying any such abuse ever occurred. And as has been the case so far with abuse at the Indian residential schools in Canada, abuse during the Holly Gregg case, and abuse of children at Hampstead. In all three cases, Karen Irving has denied any abuse happened and has written extensive blog posts over the last 4 years calling all of them a hoax. I'd also like to shed some light on Karen's writing style. This is important, so please pay attention to this one. So first we need to remember that Karen is a crime writer with a background of playing head games with vulnerable people. To put it simply, she makes stuff up. Most of her content is fabricated stories written within a lore meant to suck the readers into the drama. To do this, she uses real people with real names and photographs of them and their family as guinea pigs. She's done this with me and my family on several occasions. Karen's research, quote-unquote, for her blog consists of bypassing all factual information about a topic that comes from the source and then finding the most obscure, back-alley, non-credible sources possible and using them as her reference. This is certainly the case with the stories she has written about us. We, my family, so we run an online engineering academy, an online store with a brick-and-mortar SARL business here in Morocco, where we have shipped out thousands of products to customers all over the world. We manage several of our own e-commerce membership websites and their associated social media business accounts. So needless to say, we have produced mountains of high-quality documentation, research, and video content that provides factual information about the work that we do. This includes our published books sold on Amazon and our documentary movies on Vimeo. So Karen bypasses all of this and digs into the bowels of troll websites to find information to post about our family and our business. She uses Quatloose, a forum whose founders run a law firm that is under investigation for fraud in the UK, with a record of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from clients. I bet you didn't know that, Karen. I don't think she does. Maybe now she will. She should go look it up. By the way, I'll be doing a different segment on that because Quatlus is in this report as well as an example. So we're going to dig into their background. She also uses Metabunk as a reference, a forum whose founder, Mick West, who has a background as a retired video game programmer, who is fraudulently representing himself to be a scientist, a meteorologist, an engineer, a medical expert, among other claims, and was caught lying about scientific data. He also has a notorious reputation of being a paid shill. There's another article about that and more videos about that, so you can look into the background behind Metabunk and Mick West and why that is far from a credible source of any information. But that's what Karen uses as her reference. Other examples of Karen's quote-unquote sources include various anonymous troll comments and YouTube videos, all of which are run by anonymous individuals with no background that can be verified in any manner. Given this track record, I would state that any information put out by Karen Irving around any topic cannot be considered accurate or credible. I do not have any information on the cases of pedophilia and satanic ritual abuse in Hampstead. I wasn't there, and I have nothing to do with any of them. For all I know, these stories could have been made up and managed on both sides by the Tavistock Institute as a way to manipulate the public. I've always been suspicious of this. What I can say is that Hoaxtead and their mob have made continuous efforts to rope me, my family, and our business into their storylines. One such example are the efforts of a Hoaxtead associate named Shiva Burton. Shiva, who appropriately named herself after the goddess of destruction, how appropriate, has been spreading gossip throughout comments sections, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or wherever she can find a way. It got so bad that I had to strike down her YouTube channel. I have another article that I wrote about that here. So there's more coming about that because there's a huge story behind what Shiva Burton was doing that ties into all this. When the Hoaxtead operation are not sending me death threats, they are busy trying to frame me for a variety of crimes and threatening to get me arrested. They have a track record of doing this with others, and they brag about that. Last summer, one of the people involved in their storyline had the police show up at her door and had all her technology confiscated. Within hours of this event, I was suddenly deluged with messages from Hoaxtead sock puppet accounts telling me that I was next, that they were going to come get me, and that I was going to be thrown in jail for all manner of fabricated crimes that they were accusing me of. This is what these people do. I'm watching them do it right now to others. The UK has an insanely corrupt court system, and it's even worse than the US. The last few years, the UK's civil laws have gone from bad to worse. Our business is run legitimately and very legally, and I have employed 2 different law firms to consult with on this and other cases of defamation and harassment. Here's the main issue. It would cost me a starting rate of $4,000 per offense in order to pursue legal actions. This rate goes up being as how several of these offenders would be across international borders, and Tavistock knows this, which is why they get away with doing what they do. I do not have the thousands of dollars it would cost me to bring Karen Irving and the Hoaxtead operation through an international court case that would drag on for years and drain me of all my resources, time, and energy. With this being said, I have decided to bring this into the court of public opinion through telling my story and presenting the evidence in this post and the others in this series. So for clarification, these are the following basic civil rights laws that Karen Irving and the Hoaxtead operation have broken with me, my family, and our business. Obstruction of commerce, which is a Hobbs Act violation, interfering with our business transactions through threats of violence and corruption, and fraudulent reporting to third parties to interrupt business transactions. Harassment, daily threats to physically harm us, our family members, and our business via electronic messages and emails. Stalking, surveillance and keeping a public file on our daily activities. Slander and libel, writing blog posts and creating videos that are filled with accusations about us and our business and what are not true. Copyright and trademark violations. Hoaxtead has repeatedly uploaded our original content to third-party platforms and used our business trademark and logo. And privacy rights, financial privacy, and GDPR violations. Karen Irving and the Hoaxtead operation have publicly posted our private information with the intent of making us vulnerable to cybercrimes and identity theft. This includes publishing our unlisted email addresses, our IP address, our financial information, however incorrect, and our undisclosed physical address. They have also published the same type of information on other individuals, which can be found in their stalking files. So with that said, I'm going to conclude this video. Thank you so much for walking through that with me, and I hope that you found that helpful as some of the evidence that backs up the original presentation. Again, that is about GCHQ and the J-Trig files and how covert agents use all these tactics to discredit targets, and that it is a bigger program. Thanks for listening.